roll in a minute. I know George is here. Anthony, how about the ball player? They had his funeral yet?
No.
When will they have it?
They haven't decided yet. His family is trying to get all that together now.
Yeah. We're slow this year.
Yeah, I know.
Chapter 2.
Yeah.
So,
I think we have the majority that will be here. If you have an Excel problem, I'll take it today. Yeah, just fold it long way so they don't take it. If you have an Excel problem, I'll take it today. Okay. It's chapter 2, I think. Like you did it, didn't you?
Yeah.
Okay, Bailey. Cody. Monique. Peter Clark. George is here. Gary Prince. Still live stream, I guess. Clayton's here. Brianna. And Bettina Hightower. Adam. Mason. Well, he's in finance. Samuel. Mark. Anna. Smith, Maya, Haley. All these ladies made it to first class for live stream. That's Anna, Maya, and Haley. Zachary, okay, live stream. Okay. What name is Antonio here. And I guess that's it. That's all everybody's saying. And our new student, Greg Cornell, he had been here for 2.5 weeks. Today's the first day. You can catch up if you try. There was a young lady last night in Princeville County. She just got into this country on Sunday from Serbia. Serbia is a little country over near Romania. And I guess Serbia used to be controlled by Turkey. I don't know if they still are or not. But anyway, she comes to class, she has no book, and, she listened real well to everything I said, done everything I said, and by the end of class, she was ahead of the other people in class. She'd never had it counted in her life. She was making her entry when the other 8 or 9 couldn't. She was doing a trial balance, when the other 8 or 9 were having trouble, and first class. So you can do it, you can catch up. All of us are not fortunate enough to have her brain power, but it can be done. Okay. But they were talking about how computers had changed our language over the years. This young lady also speaks 4 languages. Young French guy in there, he speaks 5 languages. How many you speak? 3. But I heard you spoke Russian fluent.
Yeah, Russian.
Do you speak Russian fluent? Well, I was told you would get mad if I asked you that, but you didn't get mad, okay?
Because Georgia and Russia don't have good relations.
Oh, for real? Yeah, just like Ukraine, Ukraine and Russia don't have good relations.
Defensible.
What?
Defensible.
Okay.
I mean, you speak like different languages.
3.
All right.
Do nothing.
And we don't have 2.5. But anyhow, some of them call me have taken a 4th language in high school. They take a 4th language up here. But when they say they speak 4 languages, most of them speak Kuwaiti. Okay. But they were talking about one of our classes how computers had changed our language. Like windows is something for used to be look out windows, and now it's a computer term, or Apple used to be something we ate, and a chip used to be something down in the cow pasture. A gig used to be somebody's band playing on Saturday night. So anyway, a lot of terms came out from computers, didn't it? Hard drive, hardware used to be something you would buy at a hardware store. Software used to be something you went on board bed at night. So we got a total different language, don't we? But now I'm going to add a couple more to that back in my time. Mary Jane was the girl next door. Pop was something my mom cooked in. Pop was something my mom cooked in.
What is Mary Jane?
And weed was something I mowed.
What is Mary Jane now?
What?
What is Mary Jane now?
Marijuana.
Oh,
Have you ever heard marijuana called Mary Jane?
yeah.
Well, he just wanted to see mine.
Yeah.
So anyway, I just came back from Michigan and I have a nephew up there. He's got some kind of medical problem, but he has a card for medical marijuana. And they have these medical marijuana stores. They have bars around them on one of the mile roads up there. They have these medical marijuana stores that go in. I guess it's 3 different levels of medical marijuana you can get, and you can grow 12 plants a year legally. Anyhow, that's the story on pot. But anyway. One other thing back in my time is closets were made for hanging clothes in, not coming out of. Anyway, that's just a joke written down somewhere. No offense to anybody or anything. Okay, now. Sorry, Georgie. Anyhow, Georgie knows my joke. Anyway, the Excel problem in chapter 2, I'd like for you to do it, but Tuesday, okay? And chapter 3, the Excel problem in chapter 2, you should already have it finished. But the Excel problem in chapter 3, please hand that in, if you can, by Tuesday. All right? It looks like it's a pretty long problem. I had it brought up here on applying Excel. All right, now chapter 3 is important. It is your journal entries and so forth. Now, I asked you to look at the first 5 exercises, and I would like to have used Connect with this class, but I did not. Now, for this chapter, if you want to do this fundamental problem, 15, I believe it is. If you want to do this fundamental problem 15, I will count that as a bonus on your next test. Now, your next test is your first test, and it's coming up soon, okay? Now, question, do you want to test after chapter 3? That would only be on 2 chapters, 2 and 3. I'm not going to give you anything from chapter 1.
What for the bonus points? What do you have to do?
The fundamental problem 15 on chapter 3. And of course, it starts off with debit and working process and credit and raw materials and posting it. All right. And a journal entry for wages and a journal entry for, I guess, factory overhead and so forth. So it's not a hard problem, but it's just to help you with this chapter. All right. Now we will get to exercise 1, and we're going to practice journal entries today. Well, let's look at exercise 1 per your text, and that's on job order, chapter 3. I guess chapter 3, exercise 1. All right, now chapter 3 is job order. Chapter 2 is job order. Now chapter 4 gets into process costing, which is another system. So maybe I should just give you a test next week on chapter 2 and 3. All right, how about next Thursday? We'll finish chapter 3 today and Tuesday. So let's shoot for a test next Thursday. Now, you folks online, make plans with me about the test. Hopefully you can come to class next Thursday, a week from the day, and take the test. If you cannot, we have to get you a proctor somewhere, okay? If you're up in Beckley, we already have a proctor up in Beckley. And I think the college is going to try to get some system, whereas we have proctors, I guess, about anywhere. Some of our classes that are 100% online, you have to give a test online. I know I taught accounting principles online, and some guy made 100 on every test. And then we had an in-class test, and he made about 30 on it. So depends on how much time on those online tests. You all know all the gimmicks. You can get answers on Google or whatever. You can find the answers to about anything we put out there, unless we make up our own questions. Okay, so chapter 3, exercise 1. It's simply 80,000 in raw materials were purchased on account. Okay, anybody, what would you debit?
Raw materials.
And credit?
And payable.
All you do. All right. And number 2, 71,000 raw materials were used in production. 62 was for direct materials and the remainder indirect. Kayla, what's the entry? All right. All right, so these two entries, debit raw materials, credit accounts payable. And then Kayla, the supervisor requisition materials, he requisitioned 71,000. 62 was work in process, 9 was manufacturing overhead. And then C part, total labor was 132, but 112 of that was direct. So 20 of that had to be indirect. So how about that one, Cody? No, Cody's not here. Monique?
Debit work in process, manufacturing, and credit cash.
All right, just debit working pro, what did your debit factor overhead for?
11,000.
All right, and then D part, depreciation of 173,000, 175,000 was incurred. Clayton, how about that one? Don't matter, you can still answer it. All right, okay, I'll give you a pass. Brianna, in the back. Oh, well, she knew when to leave. All right. Okay, Mark.
I don't have it.
All right. I'll find somebody that's here, I hope. Georgie?
Yeah.
What's that last entry? Depreciation.
Manufacturing overhead and credit accumulated depreciation.
All right. Everything in a factory, if it's not labor and materials, it's overhead. And that's where we put it. We put it right there in overhead. All right. And we'll credit accumulated depreciation. Now, so far, all right, we've got 9,000 in overhead. We've got 11 overhead. That makes 20. And we got 175 in overhead. That makes 195, don't we? Now, what's the applied overhead? That rate we learned in chapter 2 was 200,000. Would we be over or under applied? Would be over. And we'd have to do something with that 5,000. Normally we put it in or take it out of cost of goods sold, but we'll maybe look at a different method. Okay, number 2 is more the same. All right. Now, number 2, take a plain sheet of white paper. I know some of you have this, but let's all of you write down the first 3 entries for number 2. Then you can't say I don't have it. Everybody write down the first 3 entries for number 2. And some of you already have it, but all of you don't. Now, some of them are number 2, but some of them are just like number 1, different amounts. What's relation? Oh, code. Just write down 3 journal entries, help one another.
Oh, so we're just
No, I didn't.
using the production, but you use that as a process.
A, B, C, and D are exactly like A, B, C, and D up here. Different amounts, of course. So real close. So I know you can do A, B, C, and maybe D. Okay, Brianne, what do you have for the first one? You haven't had time to put what number one down? Bless your heart. All right. She got behind. Cody, how about that first entry?
I got credit for raw materials, credit for cash.
Now, Cody, reverse that. Yeah, and this is T account. I don't like the T accounts, and that's what we use here. But if you wrote it down in journal entry form, that would be fine. Now, if you wrote it down in journal entry form, it would look like this when you debit raw materials for how much? How much? All right, and your credit accounts, well, you bought this for cash, didn't you?
Yeah.
All right, now if you were doing that in T accounts, you debit raw materials for 94 and you credit cash for 94, but you'd had to draw 5 or 6 T's, but I asked you to put it in journal form. So either way you did, it's okay. All right, and then B part, 89,000 raw materials were issued, 78 was for direct materials, and the remainder indirect. All right. Clayton, did you get that one? Not there yet? Okay, Adam, did you get that one?
Yeah, it's a credit, work in progress and, debit, raw materials.
Okay, now y'all trying to reverse these on me. All right, you should have debit work in process for how much?
Yeah, I'm sorry, 78,000.
Okay, because you got them in T accounts. Yeah, you
Yeah.
might have.
I'm back.
Yeah, okay. This
Yeah, I
should have
got it
been,
right.
that should have been 78,000. And in fact, the overhead should have been what?
11,000. Manufacturing overhead, 11,000.
All right, and then raw materials, how much?
89,000.
All right, that's if you put it in journal entry form. Okay. Now C part, total labor was 132, but 112 of that means 20 was indirect. All right. Mason's not here. Samuel, how about that one, Samuel? C part, did you get that for?
I'm up at 40.
Anybody, what's C part? Monique, I know you got it. What have you got?
Debit, work in progress, manufacturing overhead, credit cash,
Work in process for how much?
112,000.
Make that 112. You're looking at it. All right, then manufacturing overhead, how much?
20,000.
20, and then credit,
132,000.
all right,
Wait, what are you crediting?
cash. Then we get down to D part, additional overhead was 143. So just debit manufacturing overhead, 143. And credit various payables. This was not depreciation. It says it was incurred and paid, so we can credit cash. So debit manufacturing overhead, and right here, credit cash for the same amount. All right, now that would be the first letters A through D. Now, manufactured overhead was 132 was applied to production. Now, when you apply overhead to production, what do you debit?
Work in process.
All right. Right here, 78,000 worked in, wait a minute, which one was that? Yeah, that should be E if I can find it here.
152,000.
All right, 152,000, third item here. And you credited what for that 152,000? You credit manufacturing overhead.
Yeah.
Now, journal entry form would be fine if you did these in journal entry form, or if you did them in T's, that would be fine. Then all of the jobs in process at the end of the month were completed. All of the jobs were completed. So we had to complete all of these jobs, right? And if we add them up, 78, 112, 152. Does that add up to be 342?
Yes.
All right, if they're all completed, debit finished goods and credit work in process. That leaves you a zero balance in work in process. All right, now here's what we debit, and here's what we credit. Okay? All right, and then all of the completed jobs were shipped to customers. So when they're shipped to customers, we've got to debit cost of goods sold for 342 and credit finished goods 342. All right. Did it tell what we sold them for? All of the completed jobs were sent to customers. Now, what if we sold these jobs for 500,000? It cost us 342. What would we debit for 500,000 if we were selling them on account? Accounts receivable, debit, and credit sales. So this usually requires two entries. All right. Now add up these figures here. Add 11, 20, and 143. Add 11, 20, and 143. What does that add up to? Under how much?
174,000.
174,000. All right, but we've only got 152 applied. So how much does it take to give us 174,000? That's the 22. So we're going to debit cost of goods sold and then credit factory overhead for 22. That way we we used our under applied. Factory overhead has to be 0. Work in process is not always 0. You don't always finish it. Finished goods are not always 0. You don't sell them that month. Materials will usually have a balance. Cash better have a balance. Okay? All right. There was more journal entries in T account form. Now look at number 3. schedule of cost of goods manufactured and cost of goods sold. All right. On your test, you will have a schedule of cost of goods manufactured. We'll look at this, we'll practice one today, of course. And, you know, that is a schedule. It's not one of the official accounting statements. The balance sheet, income statement, and capital statement are your official accounting statements. And then, of course, cash flow, 4 of them. All right. But a schedule of goods manufacturing is good for managerial cost accounting. It's good for any kind of factory. And this country could not survive on retailing and service business. We have to have other kinds of business. We have mining business, which is similar to factory. But this country couldn't survive on mining and service and sales. We have to have manufacturing. That's where the jobs are at. Take General Motors. They employ a lot of people, don't they? Or Ford, or Chrysler, or General Electric, just any of these. And manufacturing companies, a lot of them in the top 10. We know that Walmart, a retailer, all right, is in the top 10. We know that maybe Exxon, oil production is in the top 10. Our country needs factories to survive, and we got one little course trying to teach you about these factory things, okay? Some of you have to take cost accounting. Okay, so let's look at this manufacturing statement. I don't know if I'll like the way it's set up or not. Now, you've always done this. All right, you've always taken beginning finished goods and you added purchases that gave you goods available for sale. You subtracted ending inventory and it gave you cost of merchandise sold. You've always done this in a different form, but here it's finished goods and cost of goods manufactured, 155. This is your purchases, takes place of your purchases. You're making your items, you're not purchasing your items. And add those together, we've got 190 finished goods. Now, this over under applied in this problem, if it was under applied, we had not only 148 into that factory, but we had 4 more, which made 152. All right, so that's your adjusted cost of goods sold. But now up here is what's important, your manufacturing statement. All right, we didn't look at that too much, I don't think, even on PowerPoint. You start off with beginning inventory. All right, and raw materials. You did this back in principles under a periodic method. When we had beginning inventory plus purchases gives you merchandise available for sale, in this case materials, subtract ending inventory, gave you materials used. All right. Now, that's 24,000, but you're going to take out direct materials to get materials. So what goes on this statement? What are the 3 factors that we've been talking about? Materials and what? Labor and overhead. Okay, your labor is usually a one-liner. All right. Now, your factory overhead many times is your actual factory overhead, not a one-liner. But here it's a one-liner, your applied overhead. So you take the 3 materials, labor, and overhead, and that's it. You have finished. If you're a new business and have no work in process. All right. But this is an old business, and they had beginning work in process that you add to the 164. And you subtract the ending work in process to give us cost of goods manufactured. And we have to have that because it goes here. Okay? Now, that was exercise 3. Some of you got to practice it. Some of you didn't. You know, some of you didn't hear the assignment. Some of you were. Now, what is opportunity cost? Somebody in economics. What is opportunity cost?
Something that you want.
Something else. If you got $100, you keep it at home. You keep it for a year. You still got $100. But if you put it in the bank, you got 1% interest. You make $1. So by keeping that $100 at home, your opportunity cost was $1. But now you also invested that $100 in something else. That's like your time or your time here today. What is your opportunity cost of being here today? Sleep, and maybe what some folks are doing. They're sleeping, they're not gliding. So they took their opportunity cost in a different direction. All right? Mason is in another class at this time. Okay? His opportunity cost has not been in this class. Okay? And Brianne, instead of doing her homework, her opportunity cost was going out on a date. All right? I'm just kidding, Brianne. I don't know what you did. Okay? But those are just some examples. Even with our time, we have opportunity cost. If you have a lot of courses like Georgia, 24 hours, working, playing tennis, you have to organize your time, don't you? Tutors a little bit and so forth. So you can do it, but you gotta have time management. Okay, now I'm gonna leave this up there. We must do one, okay? We're gonna practice journal entry. And we're gonna practice exercise 4. 6. All right, exercise 6, we're gonna do it now. You're gonna give me a manufacturer statement like this. I don't care about cost of goods sold. I want a manufacturer statement. Here they call it a schedule of cost of goods manufactured. It really should have 3 parts of a heading. It should have the company's name, schedule of cost of goods manufacturing, December 31st, 2018 or something. But we'll get to that later, but it should have a proper heading, but just do one now. Don't worry about a proper heading. Use this one up here as a roadmap.
That is 3-4. 3-4. Is that what you're talking about?
So this is 3-3. I want you to do 3-6. You got all your inventories there. You got your materials purchased. Some of that stuff don't go on this statement. You know that. Selling expense, administrative. First off, find how much materials you used. Find out how much material. You got a road map, but some of you can't follow a road map. You have to have a Google map that tells you every step of the way. So you're not being told every step of the way. You just got a road map.
Practice.
Try to blow that up a little bit. And you folks that are live streaming, you should be doing the same thing we're doing in class, practicing this problem. It's a little bigger now, maybe you can see it better. Okay, have you got materials used here? You're about there. That's right. How much material? Georgia has 110. Okay, let's get 110. All right, so materials used, they've got 110. Okay, so 110 seems to be right. Only we got 110. 110, that is correct. Down this point, get 110. Like, I'm glad I got to make you laugh.
I mean, before the test, I'm gonna just practice the problems, you know.
What now?
Before the test, I'm gonna just copy the problems, what you're gonna have. I mean, I think at least maybe I'm gonna press that.
You should be doing this now. Look at it, this is what you see.
Working on it.
Did you have any end already? Put it over here. And lay it over it.
I never open it.
No. Should not be down here though. And you follow the format just to get materials. Labor is a one-liner. You're not following directions. If somebody gave you directions to a bathroom and you didn't listen, you'll be hurting. Okay? So please, let's follow directions. Okay. Manufacturing overhead is a one-liner, right? All right, Georgie, what do you have for this figure?
270.
Two.
270,000.
Georgia has 270,000 for here. And do what it says to do here. I'll give you another minute. Monique, you have a final answer? What is your final answer?
275.
Monique has given us a final answer right here. 275. Who matches that? All right, about half the class is already matching that, so we need to move on. All right, here is your problem. Here is your solution. Here is your 110. All right, labor's the one-liner. Factory overhead's the one-liner. That's 270. Beginning working process. Subtract ending working process. Now there was no, all right, indirect materials that we could see. So 275 is your final answer. No other answer will work, okay? So we need to practice manufacturing statements. I'll give you a couple to do for homework. I'm just trying to show you they're easy if you follow instructions. Now the rest of this problem I didn't ask you to do, all right? But it's like an income statement. Take your begin and finish goods, just like materials, and get, add more purchases or whatever. I'm getting tongue-tied. All right, and get your goods available for sale, just like materials available for use. Subtract ending inventory and get your unadjusted cost of goods sold, just like your materials used. But here we had overhead that was over-applied. If it's over-applied, you take it out of cost of goods sold. Reduce the 260 down to 250.
If it's under applied, you had it.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Now that was the second part. Now that problem was not assigned. All right. Now we're going to go back to problem 5. Okay. Now you had the first 5 for homework. Now number 5. Number 5, I'm not going to give you time to write it down and think about it. I'm just going to call on you, okay? Number 5. Now, let's see if you picked up some of these journal entries, like an exercise 1, like an exercise 2. Now, what does this chapter have in it? 2 problems from this chapter, will be on the test. Journal entries and a manufacturer statement. There's two problems from this chapter on the test. So I want you to learn, all of you, not just one or two of you. All right? But, you know, I'd like to say no man left behind. But now, if you don't study and give up, you're gonna get left behind, okay? All right, so problem 5, somebody may have already got it. Two problems, next test from this chapter, internal entries and this. Chapter 2, you know you'll find a lot of predetermined overhead rates. So the first test is not hard. The normal grade on the first test for these two chapters is between 80 and 100. That's the normal grade. So some of you are above normal. So you may be way above that 80. I hope you're not below that. Okay. All right, so let's look at these entries. Raw materials are purchased. All right, Cody?
I got the 310,000 debit for raw materials, and I would credit for 210,000 for accounts payable.
It's on accounts, so debit raw materials and credit accounts payable. All right, Monique, raw materials used in production, 190.
And debit work in process for 178,000, manufacturing overhead for 12,000, and raw materials for 190,000.
All right, so Greg, you're in on sort of the beginning of this chapter, and this chapter is the important chapter of the two. However, we'll look back at chapter 2 some, okay? So you'll see these entries are about the same, never a problem. And if repetition helps, then you'll get it, okay? If you don't get it, time we practice these things 4 or 5 times. Carry your book around on your head. Maybe it'll sink in down here, if it won't sink in up here. Okay. All right. C part, accrued direct labor costs of 90,000, indirect labor costs. Georgie, that one.
Debit working process for 90,000, then debit manufacturing overhead for 110, and credit wages and salaries payable for 200.
All right. Now, so far, those are the same 3 entries you have in every problem. D, depreciation recorded 30,000. How about that one? D, depreciation. Clayton, tackle that
I don't know.
one. All right. They should debit factory overhead and credit accumulated depreciation. They should debit factory overhead and credit accumulated depreciation. Okay. You're gonna have that in a lot of problems. Now, these solutions are on Moodle. You can check your solutions. Other manufacturing overhead incurred was 70,000. All right. How about that?
Debit manufacturing overhead, credit work in process, 70,000.
Debit manufacturing overhead. All right. And it says other manufacturing overhead incurred. Now, there's nothing to do with working process yet, so we apply, so you'd have to credit payables of some nature, other credits payables. All right. They incurred, and say we pay. We looked at it in a minute. If the company applies overhead costs to production using a predetermined overhead rate, a total of 30,000 machine hours were used. Now, what is $8 times 30,000? 240. And Caleb, where would you put that?
Debit work in process and credit manufacturing.
All right. You only have manufacturing overhead credited one time during the accounting period, and that's when you apply it. Okay. Now they put accounts payable here. You could have put various payables. Could have been wages payable, taxes payable, blah, blah. Now, this one that Kayla just did is debit work in process and credit manufacturing overhead. Okay? Okay, Anna G, jobs costing $520,000 were sent to finished goods. Brianna. All right. Now, when you say cost of finished goods, it's going to finished goods from work in process. What did I tell you about that flow chart? When it goes to finished goods, what do you debit? Finished goods. And what do you credit? Work in process. Okay. There's only one other thing we can do to these goods, and that's sell them, isn't it? And if we do sell them, we would debit and credit. All right. Now this is the whole accounting cycle for manufacturing accounting. It will work also in cost accounting. You buy raw materials, you issue raw materials to the factory. You issue labor to the factory. You have a lot of actual overhead items. This is actual 40, and this is actual 70. Somebody keep count of these. How much is 12? 110? All right, let's see, 12, 110 would be 122 plus 40, 172. How much?
352,000.
All right, he's got 362,000 actual, 52 actual overhead. Now Kayla put 240 applied overhead. So if you subtract, what's the difference?
$112,000.
12,000?
112,000.
I don't believe it'd be that much, would it?
No, you're right.
It can't be that much. Go back again. 12 plus 110 is 132 plus 40 be 172 plus 70. Is that a 242?
Yeah.
242. If you drew yourself a T account and put them all on the left, that'd be 242. All right. And if you credit 240, then we're under applied 2,000. We'll work on that later. And that'll work out in your income statement. Now here we did sell these goods that cost us $480. We sold them for $600, and you should be able to make this entry. This entry came from Chapter 2 of Accounting Principles. When you had accrual base of accounting and sales on account. All right, so we have beat a few of those things to death. So let me give you some assignments. Please read Chapter 3 if you haven't done so. And I want you to do a couple of problems for Tuesday. I want you to do number 13, problem 13. And I want you to do problem 15. All right, 2 problems, that's not much for a whole weekend. Some of you need to get caught up on your Excel. You need to read Chapter 3. So to get you caught up to date, though, just practice that manufacturer statement and practice those journal entries, okay? And you'll be ready for a test. Please practice. I'll see you on Tuesday. Have a good Labor Day.
Have a nice day.
You too, Blake. Get caught up.